How's it going, everyone? Today we have a team building a compendium of trading products for both CeFi and DeFi. And if that didn't give it away already, we have CompendiumFi joining us today, and there's really a lot going on under the hood with this project. So luckily we have co-founders Jacob and Sean joining us alongside the head of business development, Jacob. So I'm going to pull everyone up here. And sorry, head of business development, Timothy. Messed that one up, but we got it all sorted out now. So amazing to have everyone on here.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Glad
thanks
to
for
be
having
here.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. And then just to start things off, let's kick it off with what CompendiumFi is and the goal behind your guys' project for any context for people who may not know.
Sure. So we'll get a little bit to talk about the products we offer later on, but to give a general overview, we wanted to essentially create an encompassing trading tool suite, and it started off as a vision for just centralized exchanges, and as DeFi options grew along with Solana, we ended up extending our focus on chain as well. So we started, with automation tools, generating passive income, fetching important data, socially trading with friends, to give users the ability to step away from the computer and still participate in markets.
Yeah, that's great. And we'll definitely get more on to what specifically those products are. And just before we get too far in, do you guys want to touch on your background a little bit and the beginnings of Compendium, how the ideas came about?
Sure, Sean, why don't you go first, man?
Well, originally I've got a background in automation. I've worked with robotics and some AI, and I got real into like exploring deep fake and stuff like that. And through a series of events, I got into mining, originally Ethereum on racks and racks of graphics cards, and then moved forward to ASICs whenever those weren't doing quite as well. And then I had some crypto. I had something to do with it. So the next step is trading. Found out real quick that is not as easy as it looks, and so I started getting kind of enamored with automated trading and bots and strategies, and learning Pine Script and learning how to make my own strategies, and having a strategy that you can backtest on TradingView or some other platform like that is all well and good, but you're not always sitting there in front of the computer. There's got to be a way to automate it. So we actually, Jake and I ended up as users of another platform because we had both shared that interest of automated trading. And we both ended up in this platform. We ended up getting into some direct messaging chats and just kind of expressing a little bit of distaste of kind of how the whole ecosystem of automated trading worked. Inefficiencies in trading speed, inefficiencies in the way orders were posted, and that one of the major things was clarity into what the actual P&L was. And I'll let Jake take over that one.
Thanks, Tim. How'd you come about?
All right. So, I met Sean and Jake probably about 18 months ago. The 2 years, roughly around the ballpark. At the time, I'd been working in crypto for a few years already, and I came across from Bonfida as their business development manager to head up at Compendium Finance. So, been in the industry quite a while. I've worked tokens that had just started to, going through bull markets and bear markets, been through everything. So excited to see what I can do here.
And we're glad to have you, Tim.
Yeah, we're glad. We're really glad to have Tim. He makes
Tim's a lifesaver.
My name is Jacob Ballou. I've been working professionally in crypto since 2016. Just like Sean, I got my start with mining, both ASICs and GPUs, which I still do today. I import and export a lot of machines on the side. Right before the bull rush of the 2017, ICO market, was when I got more involved on the project management side. So I helped to lead teams, create development workflows, processes, and for several different wallet providers at the time, exchanges, currently use payment systems, on ramps, off ramps. I've touched a little bit of everything. And I've also worked with several other layer 1 protocols over the year, doing, advanced business development with it and expansion for them. I have my last venture, which is currently more of a side hobby than a venture. I'm the co-founder of Ready Raiders, so that's like an esports platform with a large focus on crypto payments for prizes, which we currently worked alongside Activision Blizzard to be among the first tournament providers to give crypto payments on legal events. And I met like Sean and Tim said, I met them a little bit ago, and it was at the time when I was really busy with other projects and looking for a way to automate my trading and passive income. And we all lived through DeFi summer, and APY generation on stable farms and DeFi farms is one thing, but I still had centralized trading portfolios that I wanted to look after and didn't necessarily have the time to sit there in front of a screen and manage my trades. So I got more into algorithmic trading. Learning about this and what it entailed, and ended up being a subscriber to a similar platform that Sean and Tim used at the time, and a whole group of other friends as well. Shout out to PRS, and and like Sean had mentioned, we've noticed a lot of discrepancies. And when you've been an active builder most of your life, when you notice discrepancies or inefficiencies, most of the time what you'll do is go build your own solution. So that's what we set out to do. And at first, it started out as a hobby for a hobby platform to basically prove that, like, hey, we can do this better with the algorithms that our internal community has created. And before we knew it, it turned into a public facing bot marketplace and an encompassing company and ecosystem after that. And so, there were pretty humble beginnings to this whole project, and to see that, Compendium itself and our scaling ecosystem, grow on chain and raise funds and become this flourishing company now is pretty awesome to us.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I love asking this question, especially when I get answers like this, where you guys have a plethora of experience all throughout the space, and especially how you guys met up together too. I think it's always great when you guys meet in similar ecosystems to what you're building. This is a similar story to how the Solana News and BSC News team, we were just all in the ecosystem. So being together and working on the same thing and also having experience is great to hear for a project. And starting to move this forward a little bit, still in your guys' early beginning stages, you guys were able to raise a $2 million seed round. What did this mean for the development of Compendium, and how have you guys kept moving forward and kept the momentum on top of that?
Sure. So yeah, we were really ecstatic to be able to raise I think it was around 2.5 million from our private strategic investors. There was a large focus on investment participants on specific value adds when it comes to linking our systems to exchanges within certain regions as well. So they continue to help us out with that, and also expanding the on-chain ecosystem. The overall goal of raising the fundraising round was, of course, for on-chain liquidity for CMFi itself, to be able to provide that, but to also be able to scale out our infrastructure as a whole. When you're looking at scaling out, trading routers that serve thousands and thousands of traders, and a multitude of trades, basically too large to command log at one single time, you want to be able to do these as fast as possible. You want advanced error handling built in, especially when and we'll talk about a lot of our products, there's a lot going on at one time. Even on the centralized side, there's still a lot going on at one time when you're talking about fetching information from each user's exchange account to make sure that you're posting correct trades for them and keeping them within risk management thresholds. And then you extend this to bringing all of these tools that we're master of for centralized exchanges on chain to Solana. And the infrastructure, in order to do so, as we quickly learned, becomes quite expensive to handle all of this. And the ability to scale out our team as well. So we're the founders, and we have the head of business development, but we also have a whole group of developers behind us as well that we lead and manage. And everything from Dennis and Safwin leading the group there, and doing excellent work on both the front end sides and the enterprise facing sides as well, that we don't really talk about that much, but are a large part of the back end identity of what CompendiumFi is as well.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, and that you guys were really able to get the infrastructure and the team needed bootstrapped so you can keep moving forward. And now we'll really get into the meat of things. really getting into what you guys offer as products. I know a lot of it is automated trading. So let's get into the nitty gritty and really break these things down for users, what they are and how are they useful for them as well, I think is a really big thing to add.
Yeah, so the like we said, the tagline, the compendium of trading tools for multiple ecosystems in one app. That's where our name comes from, and it's also true for the products that we offer. So we focus both on centralized and decentralized sides right now. For the centralized side, we have a few main core products available. They're essentially all different iterations of automated trading algorithms. So we started out, our first product was the verified bot trading marketplace. And what this entails is we list first-party IP, so algorithms that we've created over the years or algorithms that we continue to keep live and manage, along with third-party IP, which would be trading bots and algorithms supplied by community or professional algo authors as well. Like Overhead Gains, which is one of our promoted bots on the marketplace right now. And what the verified trading strategy marketplace does is each bot that's listed on this marketplace actually undergoes a strict due diligence process where, not only with the author, but with the algo itself. And what this entails is there's a long period of time before these become available to the public. Back tests are one thing, live tests are another. So we want to see, how this performs in a live market over the course of several different months and over the course of several different market structures. And instead of one of the things when it comes to our competitors that we're doing differently is instead of calculating P&Ls and trades in a database and then basically putting the database together and saying, okay, this trade would have made this much money at this much time. We all know it actually doesn't work like that when it comes to slippage, when it comes to funding, when it comes to fees, when it comes to other expenses, and external factors in the ecosystem. So for the verified trading strategies that people can subscribe to, the graphs and the P&L capture that they see in all of the recent trade history data is actually pooled from a live managed sub account. So what we do is we actually host an account on an actual exchange that these get sent to, and we pull direct data from that exchange so that when you look at this bot, when you subscribe to this bot, the data that you see on your screen is exactly what you get. It's not being pulled from a data like our database. It's being pulled directly from that exchange account to show this is what that bot did on this exchange over this period of time. So these are pretty important. This is was a pretty important product at start for us and still continues to be so. There are different kinds of strategies as well, everything from short-term scalpers to long-term swing and trend bots. There's machine learning bots thrown in there, and we even have auto hedge bots as well that focus on spot holdings. So if the market's if the strategy says, hey, the market's going to take a downturn, the strategy will automatically sell your spot holding and try to buy back in lower. It's essentially some version of a DCA bot. And then there's a large focus on bots that trade perpetual futures on FTX and soon to be other exchanges as well. The next product on the centralized. Sorry.
Just to jump in there, Jacob, are those bots that you guys put out, or are those ones that users are submitting their own strategies, or a mixture of both?
Both. It's a mixture of both. So there's a large focus on obtaining, and listing community strategies as well. One thing that we did want to focus on there is protecting community IP. So there's no need for us to see the underlying base code in anything. There's no need to share your tech with anybody if it's a custom built script. All you need to do is send our system commands saying, hey, long this here, short this here, sell this here, and what equity percentages and what markets to work on, along with your API keys and auths, and you're good to go. So we never need to see any of the underlying code.
Yeah.
In addition to the verified bot strategy, also we have the signal provider groups, which instead of having to go through that longer due diligence period and the P&L capture and whatnot, that in itself is just its own little entity that allows anybody that wants to be a bot author and wants to have their own group, or they can keep it private, they can make it public, however they want to do it. That actually allows them to participate in this as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, and then moving forward there, sorry, Jacob, didn't mean to cut you off, but
Oh, no, you're good. Sean hopped in for the next one anyway.
Awesome.
So yeah, then like Sean said, we have the signal provider groups, which are more a community-oriented tool. And the last version of automated trading that we've introduced for centralized exchanges is the beta version of our copy trading groups. And what this does is it basically allows anybody to follow a lead trader with dynamic risk management thresholds. There's also a focus here on allowing the main trader to trade natively from their exchange, not from a CompendiumFi terminal. So they link their account up, and we follow the account through our linking system. And any trade that they post from their native exchange UI instantly gets calculated and forwarded to the followers of that group. These groups can also be set to public or private, so anybody can create a public copy trading group and have anybody subscribe, or if it's a trading group or an influencer running a group or something like that, they can set it to private and monetize it off platform as they see fit. This includes, as I mentioned, a dynamic risk management calculation. So let's say I longed Solana with 10% of my portfolio at X price. It would make sure that all of my followers also long 10% of their portfolio at X price, and make sure that all of your followers stay within risk thresholds to make sure there are no outliers as well. We've recently added more advanced error handling in this, and are excited to announce that copy trading should be out of beta with full P&L calculations and a slew of new features in the next coming weeks after we've just done a scalability test.
To add on to the copy trading, we looked before we actually decided to roll this out. We looked around at the alternatives for copy trading groups, and typically what we found was it's either all or nothing. Like let's say the leader had $1,000 in their account. Well, that's going to place $1,000 trade on your account. It seemed to all be mirrored one-to-one. There wasn't really a true universal solution for, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have $1 million to trade. I've got $150 in my sub account, and that's what I'm working with. But the lead trader could have 100 grand. Doesn't matter. Everybody's risk is the same percentage, the same weight, and it spreads everything equally. So it's a perfect mirror without being one-to-one.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it just sounds like you guys have a whole plethora of things, whether it's people who want to go through and actually have their bots on the platform, and you guys are very cautious of what goes on there. It looks like you guys wait for some P&L capture. You also have trading groups, and then the third one I'm missing here. Wow. So you have the trading groups and then the copy trading. So between all of those, it gives users a bunch of different aspects to look into. And I think what's really unique is you guys talked about solving that issue that you guys had early on, where the P&L calculation didn't include things like funding rate and slippage and transaction fees. So you guys bundled that all up and are really giving users all sorts of things to test out and even participate in their own way. So it's really unique to hear all of that. And I know you mentioned a lot of this sounds like it's on FTX for the time being. Are you guys planning to also release these things on decentralized exchanges like Serum and other chains, and also exchanges as well?
Yeah, so the focus on adding more exchanges is one of our priorities. This quarter into next quarter. For the centralized tooling, it is being expanded to other exchanges, like Binance, Bybit, KuCoin, other major tier 1 exchanges as well, to serve their communities and to help bolster our ecosystem by absorbing, the traders that trade natively on those exchanges instead of FTX. Currently, most of the time when we say how our tools are available for FTX, people don't complain. They just go sign up for FTX, which makes it pretty easy for us. But yeah, when it comes to bringing the tools on chain as well, this is actually something that we're currently working on and testing. We're really excited about that. So that's basically an overall encompassing summary of our centralized tools, and we can move into talking about the DEX tools if you would like to now.
Yeah, that would be amazing to jump into those.
Awesome. So yeah, the DEX tools, there is a focus on Solana because of speed and efficiency of transactions. When you talk about taking tools that are generally designed for centralized exchanges and molding them to be available on chain, the chain's abilities come into play. They are a major factor. There are not a lot of chains that we can do something like this on, but when it comes to Solana and be able to take advantage of the speed and lower transaction fees when every second and every penny counts, this makes it a little bit more doable from a developer standpoint. So there is a growing DeFi ecosystem that we have. It's phase 1 of it's currently live at dex.compendiumfi. And what this entails is phase 1 of the products, as I mentioned. So there is, on-chain spot markets that we're building on top of Serum. We have the first version of our simple swap aggregator, which is soon receiving an update. And then there are other things that we've included in there for, more data driven and information standpoints. So we have, a built-in network explorer, so you're not leaving the panel to check transactions, along with what we're building out as an enterprise toolbox for, tools that we've used internally, offering them to other ecosystem projects as well. And there's also a focus, as I mentioned, on data. So, data aggregation is key. I'll let Sean talk a little bit about the APIs that we're offering.
Yeah, so in our first foray into the Solana ecosystem, after we decided we didn't want to pay $100 in fees every time executing a trade on like Ethereum or something, we noticed really quickly that there's really not a whole lot of data available. RPCs are heavy and they're kind of hard to spin up. They're very expensive, and nobody really decided to capture the whole history of everything. So, being that, the entire idea of writing a bot or a strategy is consumption of information, we decided to just go ahead and just gather all of it. That's about the simplest way I can put it, but we're aggregating all of the trade data on every single pair that we can find, and we are structuring it in a database system such that if you need any particular piece of information, it's right there available for you to get it. And that includes charting mechanisms. There'll be data available for doing back testing. And even if you just are just trying to acquire with, what trades did I place? It'll be there. So we're aggregating as much Solana data as possible.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And in general, offering this both for users of centralized exchanges, bringing it out to decentralized exchange users as well. How has it been bringing these things on chain? Has it been a bit complex? I know you're taking a lot of these things, putting them in Rust, which there isn't necessarily a lot of formatting for. How has the process been developing all of this and putting it on chain for Solana? What made you guys choose Solana over these other chains, despite maybe people not doing this before on Solana?
Yeah, so there's a reason that most of our products for Solana and on-chain ecosystems come in phases. This is because phase 1 is what we would consider the simple integrations, pre-built integrations, the aggregations, etc., where we can combine pre-built codes into the interfaces along with other SDKs to add a little bit more native functionality to it with a focus on user experience. We have a large focus on basically simplifying things and making it easier on the user. And that's something that DeFi lacks right now. So this is something that we'll be continuing to focus on. But when you get into more of the more advanced products that we have coming out, like the REST API and the SDK infrastructure and the staking, lending, and borrowing aggregators and, the on-chain futures markets, and then combining all of these products with the automation products that we're bringing to chain, that's when it can get a little bit more interesting, and that's when it can take a little bit more time. So, we've scheduled this out to be able to handle certain integrations at certain times so that, one, we can focus natively on the integration at task instead of trying to force everything into a roadmap and, then you're delivering subpar products. So we also, it took a little bit of getting used to when it comes to working with Solana, but the more that you work with it, the more, native it necessarily feels. And there's a lot of toolkits, available now, especially and, auditing systems and security systems for, on-chain programs that are making it a lot easier to deploy in a safe manner. So this is something that we're working on, integrating before the next tools become live for users. And as mentioned, Solana, we don't necessarily want to say that we will always be married to Solana. We like to consider ourselves agnostic when it comes to chain preference, but at the time being, Solana is essentially Solana and the Serum ecosystem combined with, Radium, Orca, Jupe, and everything of the sort, and the AOB update for futures, etc. Makes this easier for deployment, and the tools are already there to be able to supply, our tooling on top of native markets in a fast and efficient manner. When you can't do this on Ethereum, we're not competing with gas fees, yet. There's no transactional fees yet, and block time is instant by human standards compared to minutes at a time for other chains. So it just makes more sense to bring what was essentially created for centralized ecosystems over to the DEX side on a chain that was honestly built for this. Like Solana was built to be able to handle what we're building.
Yeah, 100%. And the infrastructure in place on Solana is just a lot more robust. The team is focused on scaling. You have the Serum ecosystem, which plays a massive role. So it makes a ton of sense why you guys have chose Solana. To switch gears a bit, you guys also have another aspect of your project that I've actually been checking out for a while now. I've just been seeing it develop, and I'm talking about your compendium NFTs, the pigs. Can you guys touch on what the point of these are and how it's helped build a community?
Yeah. So yeah, we do have the CompendiumFi NFT Ecosystem. I am the actually the artist for drops 1 and 2, and then we had a friend who's an excellent 3D artist create and develop drop 3D for us as well. Shout out to them. But the NFT ecosystem serves essentially two purposes. The first purpose of it was when Compendium came on the scene, we were only centralized tooling. But we wanted to build a DeFi, DeFi tooling suite, a decentralized community. So in order to do so, between the launch of our centralized community and between the launch of our DeFi products, the best way to do so was to start an NFT ecosystem for us with the integrations for utilities for these NFTs coming down the road. This way allowed us to introduce ourselves to the Solana ecosystem, and also take community feedback on what this should entail and how we should build certain products by getting people involved. And I think that's what the NFT ecosystem itself for us has become. So when it comes to getting people involved, moving forward, there will be a large focus on ecosystem incentives solely for pig holders. So what this entails is there will be specific bounties, there will be specific that only they can participate in for rewards. So it's basically like a gated bounty ecosystem as well, with higher payments, and a lot of this also gets forwarded into the Piggy Council, which is our version of DAO for that ecosystem as well, who usually votes on there were originally 5 planned drops for CompendiumFi. So CompendiumFi wasn't a generative mint. Not all of them were dropped at one time. We actually used the Metaplex auction standard for the first 3 drops. By drop 3, we got to the point where we were breaking Metaplex at the time and had to work with their team. So that was an interesting feedback loop there, trying to optimize this with external integrations, and we're glad to see them move forward as well. But yeah, the auction based thing was definitely fun, and that also got people involved as well. All rarities are built into the pigs themselves, so people could see exactly what they were bidding on at the time to gauge their interest and involvement in the community. And then the ecosystem incentives that I mentioned, there's also a rarity score that goes into that. So you could complete a bounty for owning a common piggy and get X, but if you own a legendary piggy, these bounties or this payment for that may be available to you as well. There are also some overlaps with utilities that we're building into the tooling ecosystem, but we do have our CMFi tokens, so we want there to be a fine line in between utilities that ecosystem provides, in both integrations, and the utilities and the integrations that the NFT ecosystem provides.
Awesome. And that leads me perfectly into my next question here. So you guys have the CMFI token, and you're saying you were having a fine line. Am I correct to understand that the CompendiumPigs are more for the decentralized suite and the CMFI is more for the centralized? It'd be great to touch on that and touch on the line that you guys drew between that, just so people who are willing to participate in the ecosystem, they can understand the differences between those.
Yeah, so the CompendiumFi themselves, I wouldn't say are married to either side. I think it's, it's a gating tool for certain incentives, and participation manner. The token ecosystem itself, while there is a large focus on the DeFi side for the token ecosystem, it's also an incentivization tool for the centralized side as well. So, for example, when we were building out the token ecosystem, each of the products for DeFi, we also, when brainstorming and planning out our roadmap, wanted to integrate certain use cases for the token that actually made sense. It's not just a token, that's there, it serves no purpose, or a token that just receives buy and burns from revenue generated by our product, which in our case, in a lot of international legal cases, does not pass a Howey test. So the focus here was on dynamic upgrading utility. So to start out with, you know, we also wanted to focus on not only the CMFI token itself, but CMFI LP holders. You shouldn't be penalized for providing LP and not being able to still gain access to the tools. So a lot of our use cases also open up with LP holders, Radium LP holders, Orca LP holders, as we expand into other ecosystems as well on other chains, eventually those LP holders are native, bridged over token holders. And so, staking or having CMFI allows you to unlock specialized tools on both the centralized and decentralized side. There's basically a wallet link mechanism method where if you're a user of both sides, what you can do is actually get a key by linking your wallet on the DeFi side that you enter in the centralized side. And it basically proves that you have ownership of these tokens or the NFT if we're talking about the pigs, and you can access those features. So, this would be usually gated bots that aren't available for monthly subscription and only available for CMFI community members, among other things. And even talking about the centralized side, as we expand out, let's say, CMFI were to get listed on another exchange. As we bring our tools to those exchanges, we can actually query user account information and say, okay, this user actually holds 100 CMFI on exchange A. And because they hold 100 CMFI on exchange A, these tools become available on that exchange for them being a spot holder on that exchange. It's also used as an incentivization and referral method. So, we have built-in referral systems on both the centralized side, and the decentralized side is about to launch as well. So it's easy as getting your referral URL and any volume or any activity that is posted by one of your referees. A certain percentage of that gets paid back to that initial user in CMFI. There's also rebate mechanisms where you hold X amount of tokens and you get a certain percentage off of trading fees or management fees, collection fees for automated trading pools and non-custodial pools in vaults that will be launching soon. There's a large focus on staking, yield farming, and lending as well with that. And then because we do have multiple ecosystems, and we have the centralized side Solana right now, and then we're bridging out, in phase 4 that we didn't really talk about yet to other chains when, after we've perfected the Solana experience, it's a way for us to bridge the value between our ecosystem to multiple different layers. So it doesn't matter, what platform or what chain you're interacting on, as long as you have CMFI, you can still interact with those specialized tools for that ecosystem.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear all of the utility you guys have between the ecosystem there and how you look to transfer it across all of these different aspects. It's not just that one part of the ecosystem is closed off to the other. You guys are thinking about how you'll continue to expand. And you actually touched on phase 4 here, and something I wanted to ask you guys a little bit more. I know we've been touching on multi-chain, but what does this phase 4 look like for you guys? What phase are you in right now? I guess we could start with, and what is coming up. And then specifically in phase 4, what is your guys' outlook on that? What are you looking to capture?
Yeah, so so currently, I would say we're in the middle of deploying phase 2. At least for the DeFi side. And then the centralized side, we don't really count that into the phases itself because those products remain separate and get continually built out and scaled, and we add more, architecture to those products as time goes on and we receive more community feedback. But yeah, we're probably in the middle of deployment on phase 2 right now. So there are a few new things coming to the DEX tool suite as we speak. And when you move forward and look down the road at what phase 4 essentially is, that's we're talking about cross chain. you have several different bridges that we're all familiar with, which allow you to move assets from, multiple different chains to another. And there's no reason that, especially moving forward, that projects should essentially remain married to one chain as bridges become, more encompassing and more secure. So we've currently been looking at and researching what the next iteration of CompendiumFi is during phase 4, branching out through these bridges to other ecosystems. Some of them, include Ethereum, layer 2s, Ethereum itself, if it can scale a little bit better, when Eth2 is introduced, maybe eventually. There's other ecosystems that, are on our radar. A few that we've talked to our advisors and our partners about are, Avalanche, Cosmos, BSC, and, something that Sean and I are really familiar with lately is, the Terra Luna ecosystem as well. So it would be exciting to possibly maybe build something on that in the future. But even when we bring, Compendium to these other chains, we're not going to be able to deliver the same user experience and the same products for those chains. So when we're talking about integrating a chain, it's not saying, hey, we're building, this version of automated trading pools or these version of vaults or, futures markets on this chain. As it'll be as easy as, going to the DEX, and on the top hand panel, there's just a drop down where you can basically choose which chain you're interacting with, right? Or if, you want to switch chains, there's a bridge built in with one of our ecosystem partners. And as you choose this drop down and you change the panel and the state of the program that you're interacting with, different tools will have to become available because, you're hooking up to different AMMs, you're hooking up to different liquidity, providers, you're hooking up to different underlying systems and code bases as well. Not every, chain is going to be as fast as efficient as Solana is, but there's pros and cons to every chain. So we want to work off of that in phase 4 and deliver, a unique, customized, and automated as possible experience for users of all of those ecosystems.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you touched on something there, integrating and working with other AMMs. I know a lot of the space is fairly decentralized, and it almost sounds like you can just hook up to these things on your own. How has it been in the ecosystem? It said you guys said you broke Metaplex, were able to work with the team. How has it been being able to jump in and get contact for these teams? Is this something you always need to do? Is it something that when you're able to do it, it's very helpful and not too hard to get in contact with?
I think this is where Tim absolutely shines, man.
Tim's our guy for this.
Yeah, so in these circumstances, so like for example, like having industry connections, pretty much you shoot out a message and everyone, the beautiful thing about Solana is everyone comes together to help out. And that's one thing we've seen. It's like it's not an issue does arise, you have different parties willing to help out very quickly. So it's mostly just a team effort. It's more of an ecosystem effort.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's something that a lot of projects echo here through Solana, that people are willing to build in the ecosystem, and not only on this chain too. It's something that is just apparent in the Web3 space. So I think that's always a fun one to ask, especially as you guys look to integrate with more and get your tools out on more platforms, different tools. So great to always throw that question in. And I'm starting to get down towards the end of my questions here, but I'm curious for you guys, and I like to take this time to open it up. So something that you guys are excited for coming up on CompendiumFi, but also what infrastructure or things you guys want to see in the general Web3 ecosystem coming up. I think these are always great things to touch on, and also just hear what you guys are excited about.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, we're, developers, product managers, and, BD personnel here, but we are underlying still DeFi degens. We, use a lot of, I don't want to say competitors because, we're building something different and we're focusing on partnerships and collaboration in the ecosystem, but we use a lot of other protocols and other projects, interfaces, and code bases as well on a daily basis. I keep a lot of, money in or personal assets and things like Solana. We've recently started, exploring Friction and other platforms as well. So it's exciting to see exactly where DeFi is heading, especially on Solana, integrating, more advanced but traditional things as well. When it comes to probably what I'm excited about with Compendium in our direct future and maybe down the road, there's certain things on both sides right now of the ecosystem that I'm excited about. I'm really excited about copy trading coming out of its beta stages after the scalability tests. We've been working with traders like Satoshi Scalper with their groups during beta testing, and posting a mass amount of orders through the system in beta has helped us to collect data and have made the underlying systems more efficient. With Sean and Safwin have headed up, so kudos to them. And when it comes to the DeFi side, I think I'm most excited because one of the things that we wanted to do with the DeFi side is, user experience. I read a bunch of things. I have a background in communication design. It's what I went to school for. So when you look at the general overall experience of, decentralized finance as a whole ecosystem, there is a specific way that you're used to interacting with it in, and there's generally a psychological law that, like, moving forward, all DeFi that you interact with has to interact and feature and function the same exact things, and that's something that I think we need to break away from with CompendiumFi. We want to be unique to a certain standpoint here without overcomplicating things. So there's a focus on switching over a lot of things, and as we introduce the deployments in phase 2, to make it feel essentially like you're interacting with a centralized exchange, but instead of a login, and KYC, etc., all you're doing is connecting your wallet. You'll have all the favorite features of a centralized exchange, and advanced tooling and multiple different market types and tooling types, fast, efficient, built on Solana instead of utilizing an AWS database somewhere.
One of the major things that we wanted to make sure to focus on, I mean, and honestly, the entire ethos of this company is, would we use it? That's pretty much it. Is it something that we would use? And every product that we offer or plan to offer, the entire idea from any of it came from something that we wanted to use ourselves. So making it usable and easy to interact with for ourselves tends to translate into an easier experience for customers, clients, everyone in the ecosystem. There's no need for this stuff to be super complicated if you just spend the time and put the effort in and making it look good and be efficient and simple to use. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're interacting with a protocol or a website to get a job done. You want to trade something, you want to invest in something, you have a goal. There's no sense in fighting a platform to do that. So
oh God.
We've had a few experiences, so
just a few. But yeah, like he said, I mean, it's over a year down the road, and I still use our platform every day. I subscribe to our own bots. I'm subscribing to copy trading and signal provider groups that people are setting up and getting feedback from them. And overall, like, every group that has that utilizes Compendium, that has their own little Discord or chat somewhere, we try to be a part of, so that if there's something that happens or if something occurs, we're there. It's not like they have to jump into our server right away. It's like, hey, the CompendiumFi dude, just tag him. Like, he'll look at this in 1 second. And I think that's been probably one of our greatest, attributes is, community management, community feedback as well, because everything that's suggested of us, we try our hardest to implement in any way.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear, and really wraps it up nicely. I like how you guys touched on the idea of just making it simple to use, tying it back to how Compendium started out as a whole. The fact that you guys were looking for a solution to your problems, but then you guys have came around to build it, but keeping that compass and North Star, asking you guys things like, can we use this? Is this easy for us to use? Making the experience not, is this intuitive for a DeFi user, or is this intuitive in general? So it's amazing to hear these things and just get an insight on CompendiumFi and how you guys are looking to bring innovation to the space of automatic trading. And this really wraps up everything I have. I don't know if Jacob, Tim, or Sean, you guys want to close up with everything, but it was great hearing about CompendiumFi, how you guys are building the community, the products you guys are building, whether it's copy trading, automated trading, or also just, I keep missing this third one. You guys want to jump in here? What are the three?
The main ones for the centralized side are the verified bot marketplace, signal provider groups, which is, anybody can run their own bot or group,
Yeah.
and then copy trading, which allows, anybody to follow another trader. We also have something I didn't mention, that's coming out, soon with the next upgrade is pre-selected baskets and automatic rebalancing for centralized exchange portfolios. So, if you have a large portfolio of several different spot coins on your connected exchange, you can actually automatically rebalance them into pre-selected baskets with certain percentage breakdowns. So, for example, there could be like a blue chip DeFi basket, and it could have Solana, Radium, Serum, etc., all in there at different percentage allocations. And you click one button and it converts your whole portfolio to these allocations. Let's say you have a profitable trade, it can actually take that collateral, the new collateral that you've gained from the profitable trade, and automatically rebalance it back into the basket. And community can set their own basket as well. So this is something we're trying to put, a little bit more of a social spin on.
Yeah, and that's amazing, and really just outlines all the different angles you guys are taking to just make the trading experience easier and more automated for the users. Like Sean said in the beginning, this is something where you guys don't expect people to do this as a full-time job. How do you automate it, turn it into something more like a business? So I think that closes it up perfectly. Jacob, Sean, Tim, I want to thank you guys for coming on, outlining the product. And other than that, that's all for me. So peace out, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.